Hey guys, and welcome back to MTP Productions. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and this is a bit of a new video series that I've been thinking about doing for a few months now. I've been a huge fan of SuperCoach for many years now, and I've seen a lot of great content creators out there doing SuperCoach content, and I've always kind of wanted to go out of my way and try and create a channel like this where I can do some SuperCoach content. I'm not saying I'm anywhere good. I'm not saying I'm good at SuperCoach at all. It's just a game that I really do enjoy. I do try very hard every year. I'm not saying I am anywhere near the top 100, top 200, top 1,000 even. It's just saying that I really do enjoy. And now that I don't really use this channel as much, if you are a subscriber, the past few years, you would have seen that I've kind of based this channel more around my video editing and try to produce videos through my editing skills. But past few years I've been a little bit more inactive just because work's gotten a lot more busier. So I thought this was probably a good way to kind of reignite the channel. And I've got 500 subscribers on the MTP Productions YouTube channel. So I really do appreciate everyone who has subscribed, but this is probably a good way to try and get myself to try and upload more content on MTP Productions, and hopefully the subscribers can grow from there. But at the end of the day, I don't really care about the numbers. I just really wanted to try and get around SuperCoach, and at the end of the year, you'll probably find out if I'm any good at SuperCoach or not. But this is obviously a team reveal that I will be doing, the first team reveal for 2026. I've been thinking about doing this for a few weeks now, and I'm sure, like everyone, has changed their team a million times, but this is probably the first time that I've kind of been sold on a team that I'm really set on. And I'm sure come the practice games, and I'm sure with injury news the next few weeks, this team will change. But we'll get straight into it. So obviously we'll start in the back line. And I think the first player you have to start off with is Nazai Wanganeen-Milera. St Kilda obviously rely on Naz pretty much in 2025. He was by far their best player. And at him in 622K, I think he can still grow tremendously from that price, which is pretty crazy. And to see him at 52% ownership is pretty crazy. So you would think that he would probably be one of the more popular options in the back half. So I think that is a very good start to have as your number one premium defender, and kind of you can kind of rely on him for the rest of the year. So second one, no surprise. I'm sure everyone has this guy as a second defender, and it's Connor Rozee, 57% ownership. It's a guy that I think a lot of people are keen on just because of Port Adelaide's easy draw for the first 4 or 5 rounds. I think they've got Essendon, North Melbourne, Richmond, and West Coast by memory. So I think they're the 4 teams that they play in the first 4 games. So you can't really complain too much about that. And it looks like Connor Rozee will be playing more as a halfback sort of role that we saw him play in 2025. So that's something that is very, very exciting. So the next player that I'll move on to is a player that I'm sure a lot of people are keen on, and I'm sure a lot of people are starting. I was kind of between this guy and another guy called Nick Newman. If you also have seen my face before, I am on Baggers Chat, a Carlton content, and I'm a huge Carlton supporter, and I do a podcast and a YouTube channel with my really good mate, Ethan Duffy. And I'm sure you would see a few Carlton players in this team for the year. To start off with, there's actually not too many, but obviously I'm talking about Nick Newman. But I was either going to go Nick Newman or this guy, and I think this guy looks to be the right guy to go with. And I think it's Colby McKercher. You kind of saw in the past, I think it was 6 or 7 games of last year, I think McKercher was really starting to get going and playing in that halfback role. And I just think Clarko needs to use him. I think he's pick 2, pick 3 by memory. I think he was in the Sheasel draft. No, that was Wardlaw. I think he was the year after. I think he was still pick 2, pick 3 McKercher. So he's a great player, and I think he is definitely a good starting point for your third defender. So the fourth player I'll go with is Kitty Coleman. So he's 49%. I know last year at this time he was like in the 60s, I think, because I think he was even cheaper than that. Or maybe he was, actually, no, I think he was even more than that. But I think people were just a little bit scared of going with Coleman because obviously last year, 2025, he didn't play any football. Or maybe he played one game, I think. I think he only played the one game. Yeah, so only played the one game and he scored 72 points, which still isn't too bad for what his price point is. But yeah, I definitely will be starting with Kitty Coleman. I've always said that if he is training, if he is playing in the seniors, he is in my team no matter what. So, and it looks like if he does play, he definitely will play in that halfback rebounding role that we saw him play in the grand final. So, next player, I will go. I think a lot of people will have a very similar sort of back six and bench, and it's obviously Ezekiel and 62% ownership. Don't need to speak too much more about that. And I think we'll touch on more of the rookies over the next few weeks with the practice games and what most clubs will be looking like they'll go with, whether it's like with West Coast, they've got so many rookies that that could play or might not play. So I think we'll find out a lot more over the next few weeks with the practice games incoming. I think the first one's, the 25th of Feb by memory. So yeah, that's obviously a big talking point about Zeke Euland. And my last player that I'll go with is, I don't know exactly how to pronounce this guy's name. I think it's Actually, I'm not even going to attempt it because this is my first video doing this and I'm not going to embarrass myself trying to say his last name. But let's just say GRLJ. That's the player that we'll go with. Let's just call him Samuel. Samuel, you will definitely be locked in to my back six. But my emergencies at the moment is Xavier Taylor. So from, if I can spell right, this is not a good start. Here we go. Oh, still can't spell it. There we go. All right, we got it right. So 158. It looks like he is a very good kick off halfback. And with the Ds and their injuries, he looks like he could get in. So right now he's probably in for mine, but if not, I might even downgrade him to a Jai Sarong because I think Jai Sarong probably could play at the Sydney Swans. And my last player is Josh Lindsay from the West Coast Eagles. I think he should play, but if not, I don't mind him just being on my bench because I think he will get some game time. So let's now move into the midfielders. So I think everyone will be starting Zach Butters, either as your mid one or mid two. I know a few people were starting Marcus Bontempelli, which I don't mind at all. The only thing that I'm just not too keen on is his bye. It's really frustrating that the Dogs have the bye and are playing opening round, so that's quite annoying. But Zach Butters is starting, and I think eventually I'll try and get Bontempelli in. I know a lot of people are just wanting to lock in Bont and just not worry about him, but I know that I've always tried to go for value, and I feel like there's a way to get Bont in at a little bit of a cheaper price, and I know I'll probably lose a lot of points because Bontempelli's just that good of a footballer. But yeah, right now I'm taking a bit of a risk, and who knows, tomorrow morning I'll probably wake up and I'll probably have Marcus Bontempelli in this team. So right now, Zach Butters is my number one midfielder. Secondly, I'm going with Noah Anderson as my second midfield player. The only reason is Gold Coast have a very easy first few rounds before their round 4 bye or round 3 bye. So obviously opening round 1, round 2, I think round 3, and I think they have the bye round 4. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that Gold Coast have a more of an easier run for the first few games, and I think Noah Anderson is the type of guy that really benefits from easier opponents. I think Matt Rao is kind of consistent across the board, but I think Noah Anderson, you can kind of see a big difference with the easier opponents. He really dominates. And I'm not saying against the better opponents he's shit, but he's kind of, I just think he's more around that. Like it's quite I'm quite happy with going with Anderson as my second midfielder. But I do want to try and find Nick Dacos in this team. But once again, he's got the bye. So I'm just trying to steer clear from, I think it's Carlton, Collingwood, Brisbane, and Geelong who have that round 2 bye. I'm trying to steer clear from those 4 players. I know I have Coleman, but I think he's just a guy that I really have wanted to lock in as soon as SuperCoach open. But my third player, I am going with Errol Gordon. So he's 566K at the moment. Full preseason. We know how good of a player Errol Gordon is, and right now he's in my team. I'm kind of swinging between either Errol or Caleb Sarong. Obviously, with the news today that Caleb Sarong has signed, I think, a 7-year deal or something. So that just shows that Caleb Sarong would be keen to put a pretty good 2026 season together. So that'll be an interesting watch. But it's either I'll go with Gordon or Sarong. Obviously, Gordon and Sydney have their bye, so that probably is why Sarong. I mean, he's only at 12% Sarong, but I mean Gordon at 31%. That's still quite low. But a lot of people would expect Caleb Sarong to have a hell of a lot more ownership at 12%. So I'm starting Errol Gordon at the moment, but same thing with Bontempelli. It might change by tomorrow. So my next player. This is probably one of my only pods for the year to kind of start. And then as soon as the season gets started, I'll have a few plans to try and bring in a few pods, just because a lot of my pods that I have at the moment all have the bye. So I just need to try and find other ways to get these guys in. But I'm going with Jack Steele. I'm just saying this right now. I feel like if I was to post this, and he is only at 7% with the amount of injuries that the Ds have in their midfield, I'm surprised that hasn't gone up. And I haven't seen a lot of people have Jack Steele in their team. So I'm kind of scared, because I feel like this would be a really good pod to kind of keep on the down low. I know 7% is still solid, but it's not 1% or 2% of like the pure pods, but this is still very low ownage for a guy like Jack Steele. But I know a few people were scared about going with Jack Steele. I was the exact same, and I really only brought him in the past probably week. So right now, Jack Steele is in my side, and hopefully he will be getting that number one midfield sort of treatment, and he can really up that score to probably over 100 average. That's kind of what we're asking for. So hopefully we can get that from Jack Steele. My fifth midfielder, I think everyone has this guy in this team, and it's Hayden Young. 52%. I thought it would be a hell of a lot more than that. But I think Hayden Young, you definitely have to lock him in. I was about to say, definitely have to young him in. You definitely have to lock Hayden Young in. So 52%. Nothing else to say. Hayden Young, lock him in. So just my rookies, I'll fly through this very quickly. So from the West Coast Eagles, Willem Dersma, I think this is a guy that you just need to lock him in. Number one draft pick, and he looks to get a lot of min time, hopefully at the West Coast Eagles. Dyson Sharp for the Essendon Bombers. He looks like he's going to be playing right in that midfield mix, which is promising to see. And probably this is my second. I've got my team. No, this is my third Navy Blue player, Carlton player, in my team at the moment. So, and it's obviously Jagger Smith. I think at 119K. I don't know how that isn't 100%. Like 75% is still too low. It should be 100%. I think Jagger Smith is by far the biggest lock of the season. If not, it's probably Hayden Young. And just my bench quickly, I'll go with Will Brodie. I think he is a guy that probably should play in that midfield mix. And once again, Port Adelaide do have an easy draw, so you can get a lot of cash early from Will Brodie if he does play, and if he does play in that midfield. So Will Brodie, Patrick Richesco, I think it is. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but that's obviously the guy that's come from the Geelong Cats over to the Tigers, and he looks like that Richmond have a role for him. So, and it looks like he's going to be playing on that wing. So I'm quite excited about him playing. So hopefully he will be playing a lot of senior games in 2026. And my other Carlton player, Taylor Byrne, 1%. I didn't know he was that low. So he's 1% ownage. Now I know this is probably more of a like me putting my Carlton hat on, but I think he plays opening round. Like, I know Jesse Motlop is now out for the season. Zach Williams is transitioning into the halfback, and that's also another sort of pod. Actually, how much is Zach Williams? I'm curious to see. If I go Zach Williams, so he's 372. I just think if that was 272. I think a lot of more people would be interested in Zach Williams, but him just being 372, I just don't think a lot of people would be willing to take that risk. But yeah, as I was saying, I think Zach Williams, as he said in an interview, I think it was yesterday or the day before, he was saying that he will probably start as a as a mainstay defender, which is obviously what we kind of knew of Zach Williams at the Giants. And when he transitioned over to Carlton, he probably wasn't great at Carlton, but at the Giants, he was really, really solid as that halfback flanker. So, and that also opens up a spot for Taylor Byrne in that forward line. I know other than that, there's a few other guys like Frankie Evans, but I think Frankie Evans already plays. And I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Harry Mackay, Ainsworth, Haywood, Evans. Other than that, it kind of is an open book as to who you want to play in that forward line. So at the moment, Taylor Byrne is in, but if he's not in opening round, I probably won't be starting him. But at 113K and 1%, that is crazy for a guy that probably should have a little bit more ownage. But now it's time for the Rucks. I'll start with the two big guns, Tristan Cherry and Luke Jackson, and my emergency, I'm sure as everyone has as their ruck emergency is Liam Reedy. I think Reedy plays. I really do. I think he plays ahead of Pito with what I've seen at training. So that's quite promising to kind of, as a Carlton supporter, see something other than Mark Pittonet. I still think Pito is a good ruck option, but I just think Reedy just has a little bit more of that point of difference where he can go forward. And his skills are actually quite solid, and he's a big boy. So I'm quite excited to see Liam Reedy from a Carlton point of view, but also from a Supercoach point of view. Having him at 119, I think he definitely will play. So I think everyone should be having Liam Reedy as their ruck emergency, but I think Cherry and Jackson are the two absolute locks in that ruck line. When I first started Jackson, I didn't think a lot of people would have him, but literally after that, he's been I mean, like, he's at 26%, and I think the next one would probably be Gorney. I don't think there would be anyone else. Yes, Sam Draper, but he's obviously having a delayed start to the season. So that's a guy that I'm also keen on, Sam Draper. If he does play in that Brisbane lineup, and he does play as that number one ruck, and he's kind of a solo ruck, that's a guy that I'm really keen on. So at the moment, though, Cherry, Jackson, and Reedy as my ruck players at the moment. In the forward line, Harry Sheasel. How is he at 70%? I don't know how he is at 70%. He should be a hell of a lot more than that. So that should be 100%. He's an absolute freak. And that's probably an average that probably he can well and truly smash that to probably 110 or even 115. So Harry Sheasel, I'm a huge fan of, and I think everyone needs to have him as a forward because he's probably one of the only realistic forwards that we are all really keen on as a primo forward. I know Petrarca. I know a lot of people are starting Petrarca and Rankin, but also Rankin is missing the first few games. Sam Darcy is another one. So I pick it's a bit of a risky choice for mine, just because I don't know how the midfield will line up at the Ds. But same thing with Steele. I think there's a lot of upside with Cozzy Pickett. So I probably wouldn't be opposed to that. That probably would be my next option. But obviously my second forward will be Christian Petrarca. And that once again goes to the Gold Coast and their start to the season. I think he can get a lot of points early, and him being there as a forward is even better. And he's averaged at 96.5. And 2025, there were a lot of people that were saying that Petrarca was not up to his standard. And I think by all reports that we're hearing at the moment, Petrarca's training the house down, as they all do in the preseason. But Petrarca I'm a huge fan of. And once again, same as Sheasel, having that forward DPP spot in Supercoach, I think these are two guys that, is a very good choice in the forward line. So my third forward is Sammy Flanders from the St Kilda Football Club. This is another guy that I'm sure will have high ownage, 63%. That's still, it probably should be higher than that as well. He left the Gold Coast Suns to seek more mid-time, and I'm sure he will get that at the Saints. So 396, and knowing that he'll probably, that he definitely will get there, the DPP later on in the season. I think it's round 6 when they first do the changes of the DPP. So Sam Flanders, 396K. He's a guy that you just have to lock in that forward line. And this is another guy that I don't know if he's a bit of a pod. I think a lot of people have jumped on him now. Yeah, wow, 21%. That I think when I first looked at him, I think he was at about 13 or 14%. So I think the past 3 weeks, a lot of people have jumped on Sammy Lawler. I'm a huge fan of him, as I'm sure a lot of people are. But him wearing that number 4, hopefully he doesn't dominate round 1 against the Baggers. But Sammy Lawler, I'm a huge fan of at 298k. I think he's that guy that can really catapult that price for the whole season. I'm really keen about Lawler, and whether it is kind of a slow burn and he kind of does maybe make 100k this season, I probably wouldn't be opposed to it because I don't think there's a lot of forward options this year. I know that there's a lot of people that are starting Ugle-Hagan. I'm just not a huge fan of Treloar. No way, I'm not going anywhere near Treloar. But other than that, it's more so I'm keen on Lawler because I love him as a player, but it's also, there's just not a lot of forward options. So at the moment, I'm starting Lawler, but same thing with Bontempelli. I'm sure that will change by tomorrow. But at the moment, Lawler is in my forward line. So another Saints player is Mateus Filippo. If I can actually press the search players, Mateus Filippo, 57%. That's high, but probably could be higher and probably could be lower. I know that there are a few people that would be scared off to go with Filippo, and I probably don't blame him. He hasn't really played a lot of football over the past few years, but it's more so when he does play, he definitely has that potential. So, and at 168k with a forward line that doesn't really have a lot there, I just think, have to lock in Filippo in that forward line. Speaking of the West Coast rookies, we'll go with our first one, and it's Devon Robertson, the former Brisbane Lion that's transitioned over to the Eagles to seek more senior football. So I'm sure he will play. Whether he plays in that midfield, I'm not sure. I think he probably is better than the midfielders that the Eagles have at the moment. So Robertson, I'm sure, would be a safe spot as that F6 at the moment, but I'm sure we will find out more in the practice games. And just to round off the last few bench positions, I'm going with Lombard from the Gold Coast Suns, 27%. It looks like he's going to be playing a bit more senior football, but same thing with Robertson and same thing with a lot of these rookies. We'll find out a lot more come the practice games. And to finalise, my forward line bench is Finlay McRae at 42%. That's just another rookie that I just think you have to lock in. So I've got 163k remaining for my flex, and I don't usually like using all of my cash to start off with. I usually like having probably 50 to 100k to start the season, and then if I need to upgrade or whatever. But I think just a lot of people that I've been speaking to have just said, like, you're kind of leaving a lot of money aside, and that also probably would mean that you're probably not really you're not really actually taking charge of like the amount of points that you can actually get. So this kind of has changed my mind, and I'm going with Jacob Farrow from the Essendon Football Club, 163k. 27% ownage, and he looks to be playing round 1, which is, same thing as I said before. If he doesn't play round 1, or if he doesn't really look too good in the practice games, I won't be starting him. But at the moment, he is my flex position. But this is my first sort of team reveal for 2026. I've got $100 left in the salary, so I've well and truly used most of that on this first team reveal. But I'll probably try and get a little bit more on top of doing a little bit more updates over the next few weeks, with whether it's news to do with players that could potentially play round one, or maybe some primos who look like they're really strong, or vice versa if they're not looking too good, or whether it's injury news as well. I'll probably try and really commit myself to try and do some content. So because I'm really keen to really get on top of the SuperCoach in 2026 on MTP Productions. But if you can please subscribe to the YouTube channel and really grow this channel once again, it would really mean a lot to me. And also get around my Instagram. I've got an Instagram channel as well, MTP Productions. If you can get around that, that's affiliated with Baggers Chat. So we post a lot of content on that. So if you can get around that, that would mean the world. And also get around our TikTok as well. There's about 18,000 followers on the TikTok as well. So if you can get around that, that would be much appreciated. But take care, and I'm sure I'll see you guys over the next few weeks with more SuperCoach content. Cheers.